Good day, Philippines. Hello, Region 1. Aloha, San Carlinian learners. Airing live from the mango bamboo capital of the Philippines, San Carlos City. You're tuning into CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SDO-SEC learner, where passion is the key. Learning paves the way. With our division mantra, developing creativity, maximizing versatility. This is your CCN Broadcast Center. CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SDO-SEC learner.
Good day, dear learners. Welcome to CCN Live, Carlos and Carlene Network. I hope everybody is doing well and great. It's another day of learning science. I am teacher Vanessa, streaming live. In your previous module, you have learned about the properties of solids, liquids, and gases based on the particle nature of matter. So, let's have a simple review by identifying the state of matter being described. Are you all set? I bet you are. Now, let's get started. Number 1. I take the volume and shape of the container. My particles are far from each other and they have weak attractive forces. I can be compressed and flow easily. What am I? You got it right. The answer is gas. Okay, second one. I have a definite shape and volume. My particles vibrate, closely packed together in a fixed position and are held together by strong attractive forces. What am I? And the answer is solid. Third one. I have a definite volume and I take the shape of the container. I flow easily because my particles have enough space and have less attractive force. What am I? You got it right. And the answer is liquid. Great job! I believe you are now ready for today's lesson. To begin with, let us consider the following conditions. What changes take place? First, what changes take place about wet clothes before exposure to the heat of the sun? Second, how about during the time of sun exposure? Third, finally, after it was exposed to the sun. And the fourth one, what process takes place when a liquid state changes to a gas state? Another activity, what will happen to the size of a toilet deodorizer placed in the comfort room based from the given conditions? A. Unpack deodorizer after 5 days. B. Unpack deodorizer after 15 days. Second, what causes the change in its size? Third, how does its odor get into the air? And the fourth one, what process takes place when solid state changes to a gas state? Please take note of those questions. Answers will be revealed as we go along to our discussion. Now, I want everybody to focus and be attentive as we unleash the topic intended for today. At the end of the lesson, I believe all of you can identify the different phase changes. Second, describe how matter undergoes phase change. And third one, explain physical changes in terms of the arrangement and motion of atoms and molecules, which is our most essential learning competency for this lesson. Matter undergoes either physical change or chemical change. Physical change is a change in one physical state of matter to another without changing its chemical composition. Only the physical properties of a matter change during a physical change, which includes changes in size or shape, just like when you crumple a piece of paper. On the other hand, chemical change occurs when a substance is formed into another substance with different composition, like when you burn a piece of paper. Phase changes are also examples of physical change. So what is phase change? Phase change is a process of changing one physical state of matter to another. But what happens when matter changes state? During a phase change, heat energy is either absorbed or released from a system. The energy needed for a substance to change its state is called latent heat. Take note that it is an endothermic process if the system absorbs heat energy from its surroundings. It is an exothermic process if the system releases heat energy to its surroundings. Do you have an idea of what will happen to the kinetic energy and arrangement of particles of matter in solid, liquid, and gas as the temperature increases? That's right. That is because of temperature. Increasing the temperature will result in the increase of the kinetic energy or the motion of particles. Therefore, the tiny particles move, resulting to a farther distance between them. Similarly, decreasing the temperature will result in the decrease of kinetic energy or the motion of particles, leading to a closer distance between the particles. Common changes in state includes melting, freezing, condensation, evaporation. We have sublimation and deposition. Let's start with melting. When an ice cube is exposed to heat, it absorbs heat energy and melts. Thus, it is an endothermic process. During the melting process, the amount of energy present in the particles increases. As the particles gain energy, they break apart, speed up, and move farther apart. Melting is the change of matter from solid state to a liquid state. When liquid state changes back to a solid state, this phase change is called freezing or solidification. The most common example of freezing is the formation of ice cubes in an ice tray when water is kept in the freezer for some time. Freezing happens when substance releases heat energy or exothermy. The kinetic energy of the particles decreases, and as a result, particles slow down and move closer together. Have you ever wondered what happens to the water when wet clothes dry under the sun? You're right. Your clothes get dry due to evaporation. The sun heats the clothes, turning the water into vapor or gaseous state. This is an example of a liquid changing to gas state called evaporation. During the evaporation process, the substance absorbs heat energy or endothermic, in which the kinetic energy of the liquid particles increases. Therefore, particles speed up, resulting to a farther distance between them. Can you give me more examples? So take a look at this. You can have fun with puddles after a good rainstorm, right? However, once the sun comes up, the puddles are gone. This is because of the heat from the sun that evaporates the water. Another one. Your kettle whistles when your water is boiling due to evaporation. The water starts to evaporate into steam and causes the kettle to whistle. But what is the difference between evaporation and boiling? Based from the given chart, boiling is a quick process that takes place throughout the liquid, while evaporation is a slow process that takes place only at the liquid surfaces. Both are types of vaporization. Did you know that? Studies have shown that lakes, rivers, seas, and oceans provide nearly 90% of the moisture in the atmosphere through the process of evaporation. The remaining 10% is contributed by plant transpiration or the evaporation of water through the leaves of plant. It is an important factor in the water cycle as it is one of the major sources of water into the atmosphere. The reverse process of evaporation is condensation, in which the substance changes from a gaseous state to liquid state. Why there are visible water droplets on the grass early in the morning, even though it did not rain the night before? That is because of condensation process. The air near the ground cools during the overnight hours, and as a result, water vapor in the atmosphere condenses to form dew on the grass. Heat energy is released, or what we call exothermic, when water vapor condenses to form liquid droplets. As the particles lose heat, they lose energy and slow down. They move closer to the other gas particles and collect together to form a liquid. Another example of condensation is the formation of clouds. Clouds are formed as a result of water vapor cooling in our atmosphere. As the temperature of the water vapor falls to the dew point or below, it condenses to become water droplets that comes into contact with dust particles in the atmosphere, forming clouds. Condensation can also produce water droplets on the outside of soda can or glass of cold water. When warm air hits the cold surface, it condenses and transforms into droplets of water that are often described as sweat. Okay. Now, let's talk about transition between solid to gas. Are you familiar with dry ice? When solid state directly changes to gas without passing the liquid state, it is called sublimation. And the best common example of sublimation is dry ice, which is a solid form of carbon dioxide. Unlike the ice cube in a cold drink, dry ice does not melt to become liquid at all. Instead, it changes directly from solid to gas. The particles of dry ice absorb enough heat energy to completely overcome the force of attraction between them and move fast enough. Therefore, sublimation is an endothermic process. Mothballs that effectively repel insects away, as well as air fresheners that usually found in your room, car, or bathroom are also sublime in nature. The odor is passed on throughout the space with the movement of air particles. Just like when you place an unpacked toilet deodorizer and left it for several days, which is given in your previous activity. The reverse process of sublimation is deposition. Deposition is a process in which a gas changes directly to a solid without going through the liquid state. When warm, moist air comes into contact with the freezing cold surface, water vapor in the air changes to tiny ice crystals or frost. Example is the leaf-like pattern formed on a window pane during the winter months. Thus, it is also an exothermic process. In Atok Benguet, layer of frost covered some plant crops as the temperature in the area drops, brought by northeast monsoon or locally known as amihan. Heat energy is released as the ice crystals form, in which the particles begin to slow down and come closer together. Thus, it is an exothermic process. All right, now let's wrap things up. Matter undergoes changes in physical state known as phase changes. There are 6 phase changes between solid, liquid, and gas. Melting is a change in state from solid to liquid. Evaporation, change of state from liquid to gas. Sublimation, change of state from solid to gas. Freezing, change of state from liquid to solid. Condensation, change of state from gas to liquid. And the last one, we have the deposition, change of state from gas to solid. The phase changes that absorb energy, or what we call endothermic, are melting, evaporation, and sublimation. While the phase changes that release energy, or what we call exothermic, are condensation, freezing, and deposition. Take note that all of those are physical processes and not chemical reactions. And that ends our lesson. Now, are you up for the challenge? Then, let's test your understanding. You just need to choose the correct answer from the following questions. And you have 5 seconds to answer. You may drop your answer in our comment section. So let's start. Question number 1. A glass of cold water collects water droplets on its surface on a hot summer day. This is an example of what phase change? A. Condensation. B. Evaporation. C. Freezing. D. Melting. Alright, so the answer is letter A, condensation. Question number 2. When isopropyl alcohol was spilled on the wooden table, what phase change occurred in this situation? A. Condensation. B. Evaporation. C. Freezing. D. Melting. The correct answer is B. Evaporation. Let's move on to question number 3. Dry ice gives off carbon dioxide gas. What phase change does it undergo when it transforms from a solid to gas without passing the liquid state? A. Condensation. B. Deposition. C. Melting. D. Sublimation. Alright, so the answer is we have letter D, sublimation. 4th question. What will happen to the kinetic energy or the motion of the particles of matter if the temperature will increase? Is it A. Decrease, B. Increase, C. Remains the same, or D. Neither increase nor decrease? And the right answer is letter B, increase. Lastly, what happens to the arrangement of particles of solid, liquid, and gas as the temperature of particles decreases? Is it A, the particles are becoming closer together? B, the particles move farther apart from each other? C, the arrangement of particles stays the same? And D, the arrangement of particles becomes disordered and then changes back to become ordered. You got it right, and the answer is letter A. The particles are becoming closer together. Another great job. I hope you have learned and had fun. To top it all, let us all be inspired with this. You are living. You occupy space. You have mass. You matter. By Albert Einstein. Again, this is Teacher Vanessa. Thank you and have a great day, everyone. Ah? Sobra ko ng tanong.
Good day, Philippines. Hello, Region 1. Aloha, San Carlinian learners. Airing live from the mango bamboo capital of the Philippines, San Carlos City. You're tuning into CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SDO SEC learner, where passion is the key. Learning paves the way.
Pero
And
na-flash
our
mo lahat.
division mantra,
Ay, na-flash lahat.
developing creativity,
Alisin ko na pala.
maximizing versatility. This is your CCN Broadcast Center. CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every STO SCC learner.